Race 2, and we're in Tokyo, Japan. Sebastian Ocampo starts on pole from Marcus Nelson and Dav Sanchez. Then it's Revo in 4th, followed by Folstad and Tommy. Following them is the two Sims Motorsport drivers of Tenali Gabo and Zach Wallace, then it's Sebastian Tan, Fabinus Jr., Pablo Sierra, and Santino Milan. Following him is teammate Inokui, then it's Daniel Bogdasarov, the two Kuros of the Red Devil and Remy Labau. Then it's Mohamed Nawawi, teammate Zay Lane from Mercedes EQ, then the two Brawns of Pierre Gasly and New Cable, and the two Pinnacles of Akari Lopez and Leo. Oh, then after the last time out show-stopping race in Shanghai, we're in Tokyo. All 5 lights go on. And we go green in Tokyo. Very good start from Marcus Nelson off the line in his return to Japan. For Diaz de Cheetah heading down into turn 1. Looks like Nelson's got a very good shot, but he's on the outside. Ocampo holds on to the race lead by the skin of his teeth. Folstad up into P3. Sanchez fighting the McLaren driver. Revo in 5th on the hard tyres, just kind of holding on to that 5th position because he knows he's likely to drop down the order. Zach Wallace trying to do the same thing as Revo, but it doesn't seem to be working out as well. His teammate Tenali Gabo having to be forced very wide to get himself up into 6th position, and on the back of his countryman Revo right in front of him. Very good start for that Sims Motorsport driver. Also a very good start for the Renault driver of the Red Devil in the number 99, as he's trying to get closer to the back of the Nissan man in front of him. But Gabo, he's not got the same amount of power in that Nissan powertrain. They've upgraded it for that home race, but it's not upgraded enough to hold off the charge from Tommy, who's right behind him, and he's going to try and take 5th as well. Almost contacts between the two DS-powered drivers fighting for 5th. Tommy up into P5 as Zay Lane gets a 5-second time penalty in his second race in the FEMC. But out in front, Sebastian Ocampo leads, Folstad 2nd and Sanchez is 3rd. Gabo drops down to 8th position coming through turn 1, and he might drop down to 9th if Pablo Sierra, who took his seat, has his way, as Sierra still looking to try and get past the Miku Mobile in 8th position, and he might have just found his way past. Look at this from Pablo, up into 8th position, but Sierra's still got Gabo, and oh, that was a late braking moment for Tenali. If he hit the brakes 10 meters later, he would have hit the wall. If he hit the brakes 2 milliseconds later, he would have hit the wall. As Akari Lopez gets a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision with his own teammate, it seems. So Aurelio Pinnacle once again not having the greatest of days. Remy Labau, compared to his show-stopping debut race, doesn't seem to be having as good of a race here today, as Fabinus Jr. getting past Revo, whose hard tyres are not up to scratch. However, they are a lot less worn than the softs on Fabinus Jr.'s car. So 7th place right now for Revo, as long as he can keep within reasonable distance of Ocampo, the race leader, with the fastest lap. That should be good. Championship leader Oscar Folstad currently in 2nd, trying to make it 3 repeat champions in the series, as he's forcing Sanchez to go very, very wide through the 2 Dunlop turns just to keep him at bay. The number 72 for Andretti, and oh! Virtual safety car spinning is Inokui, and that is Pablo Sierra out of the race. Bogdasarov gets a 5-second time penalty. Sebastian Tan also out, and a puncture for Zay Lane, which completely unrelated to the incident at hand, but we are under virtual safety car on lap 3 of 13. And for Zay Lane, his lack of luck in the FG series seems to have followed him here to the FEMC. He's also got a 5-second time penalty, so for the second race in a row, it looks like Zay Lane is going to be lapped, unfortunately, for the most recent Philippine driver to join the championship. The Philippines, a country and has hosted many Formula E Monopoly champions. Into the pits comes Daf Sanchez, one of the Philippine drivers who has not taken the championship. Tommy also into the pits then for DS Venturi Formula E team. Going on to the medium tires, someone else coming in there behind us. That is Enoch Curie, who has lost his front wing in that entire incident that we've just seen. That was one of the worst incidents. And Leo and Zay Lane, both with punctures, but to different tires on their car. Fastest first sector going to Sebastian Ocampo, going very, very deep, coming through the two right-hand Dunlop turns. The Red Devil defending from Santino Milan on board with the Argentine number 43 for Nissan Nismo. As into the pits comes Leo, and we can hope Zay Lane comes in following suit. So unfortunately for Leo, I do not see him having the same charge through the pack that he had last time out. The Red Devil defending from Santino Milan, and he's defending quite well. It's not that robust of a defense, of course, but it is a very good one nonetheless. Sinali Gabo still ahead of Revo, just pointing that out, as here comes Santino Milan. There goes Santino Milan, giving Nissan Nismo something to be happy about at that home race, but the Red Devil still with him. How have they kept it out of the wall? Milan up to P7. Gabo's been passed by Revo, and I'm not too sure if he's coming to the pits. Yes, everyone in front of Revo's come in, so the Italian takes the lead. Zach Wallace is going to gain tons of positions here. He's up into third. He's doing the same strategy as Revo, trying to skip a pit stop with those hard tires. But you can see little line of graining beginning to form on that hard compound tire. It's only on the front right. It should be manageable with the rest of the tires. It's actually only on the right side of the car. The left side tires around here don't actually get that much wear on them. As Revo now also beginning to feel similar issues with the tires. Santino Milan's mediums, they're gone. He should not still be on them. Same thing for Remy LaBelle, Daniel Bogdasarov, and U-Cable. Dav Sanchez actually in front of both his teammates and Oscar Folstad. So Andretti currently have a net 1-2. But look at this fight for 6 with U-Cable at the front of it. Sanchez gets himself up into 6th position. Ocampo goes through. Tommy goes through. Folstad should come through eventually, but he's lost out to 2 drivers in just trying to get past U-Cable. Marcus Nelson also through on U-Cable there. Into the pits does not come Revo, but in should come, yes, Santino Milan. 7 laps to go. Dav Sanchez gets a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision, and I think it's easy to see why. Side by side between him and Remy LaBelle. Into the pits comes the Frenchman for Kiro Renault, and I do believe, yes, U-Cable also in. They were stretching their tires for so long. It didn't seem real for how long U-Cable was on those soft spots. 6 laps on the same compound of soft tires. That doesn't seem right, but that happened. So it's Revo who leads from Zach Wallace and Sebastian Ocampo. Revo and Wallace yet to make their first stops. However, the top 2, both Italians. If Gabo gets himself up into 3rd, then we'll have the first 1, 2, 3 of Italian drivers in championship history. That's Marcus Nelson. Marcus Nelson, I saw him in the wing mirrors of the McLaren. He's gone past Folstad. Babinus Jr. past Oscar Folstad. He's the lowest placed DS driver who's still in this race, but he's losing a lot of time to the cars in front of him. Is there a problem with that McLaren TGR car, or is that just a lack of confidence in the season 18 driver's car? I thought that was what I was meant to say, and yes, that is what I was trying to say. I struggle with speech. As into the pits comes Revo at long last. Yellow flags, and his teammate has hit the wall. Into the barriers in a 5-second time penalty for Marcus Nelson. Zach Wallace has stayed out, but has been passed by Sebastian Ocampo, who sets in who fastest lap, and Revo will come out of the pits. He will be behind his teammate. It will be 9th place for the man who finished in 2nd last time out. Heck, it could be 10th if not Huey can get past him, but those mediums on Huey's car not looking as good as the softs on Revo's car. So coming through turn number 1, Revo does just about hold off the Nissan Nismo driver behind him. But look at this fight for 2nd position here between Babinus Jr. and Sanchez. keeping it out of the wall. Keep it clean, guys. You don't want to have a repeat of Bastian Tan and Pablo Sierra's incident earlier on in this race. But look at that. Fabulous Jr.'s got himself Daf Sanchez, rather. And he's closing in on Zach Wallace. Look at this. In the dark horse, DS Venturi. Can Sanchez hold Fabulous Jr. at bay and lets Zach Wallace keep second position? No, he can't, because look at that. It's Wallace versus Fabulous Jr., the Miku machine versus the dark horse. And unfortunately for Fabulous Jr., he forgot that he was in Japan. He just had to let the Vocaloid car keep second position. It's Volstad, yellow flag. He's been given a 5-second time penalty. Off is gone Tommy, who has lost his front wing. Possibly a similar incident to Marcus Nelson earlier on, but into the pits must come and Tommy, lest he get a black flag with orange disc. Also into the pits, Zach Wallace, who alongside Tommy will have some of the freshest tyres of the field. But this race looking to be a two-stopper as the Red Devil for Kira Race Co. comes into the pits and will go on to some actually really good looking on this car, medium tyres. I just had to say that because, you know, yellow car, it is the most visible car in the field. And I think it was designed that way. I think Kira Renault joining the championship, they knew for a fact that even if they couldn't do something, they couldn't win a race, they just still needed to stand out somehow, and so they decided, unlike the rest of the field who had basically a primary colour of black or silver, they wanted to stand out like Nissan Nismo have done, and go for a colour that's rarely ever seen in racing, as Pierre Gasly trying to defend from Zach Wallace here, and Wallace all over the back of Pierre, trying to get himself past the Frenchman in front of him with 4 laps left to run. Here comes Wallace. There goes Wallace. Fabulous Jr. and Tonali Gabo both into the pits, and seems like there's always going to be the risk of an upset. Clouds are darkening over this part of Japan. And on board with Volstad, who does have a 5-second time penalty. So as it would stand, the top two would be 2 drivers who probably should have been on the podium last time out, at least with one of them. Ocampo would take the win currently, and Revo would be second. And intermediate tyres going onto Akari's car. Same for Mohamed Nawawi, and presumably same for, yes, the Red Devil going on to Inters. According to the teams, rain should be falling over the track. Now, there is rain in Japan to end off today's race, and this is going to change up the perspective of the rest of this race, because obviously there's no way that Sanchez can hold on to second, because they're going to have to double stack down at Andretti. Here comes Revo. He's looking at the middle, on board with the Italian, as they now go into the Casio triangle. Can it be third for him? Contact into the wall, and a 10-second time penalty for Daf Sanchez, all in one turn. He drops to 4th on the road. Into the pits comes his teammate. Revo comes in as well. But could that incident have been just manifested by, well, it's a dumb decision, and virtual safety car to Nali Gabo. The Sims Motorsport Nissan out of this race. It's a full course yellow. And that is certainly one way to transition to wets. Oh, that was something else. And Inokue coming through the chicane, and you can see staying on the slicks in these conditions, you're going to struggle with grip. There was one race back in Season 2, the London Prix, where it started raining on the last lap and the teams weren't allowed to go onto wet tyres, so they spent the entirety of the last lap on the wet weather tyres. It led to one of the closest finishes in this championship's history. We're not going to get a close finish like that today, because Sebastian Ocampo is leading this race and he's over 5 seconds ahead of Oscar Volstad. But with that 5-second time penalty, Volstad drops to I think he drops to 3rd, yes, and that elevates Revo to 2nd. Sanchez, of course, also with a time penalty. His is much bigger. Remy Lebel, he's always managing to score points in some of the craziest races in the championship. He's found himself up in 7th, and honestly, the Frenchman should be counting on his lucky stars because he's got Zach Wallace, Babinis Jr. and Marcus Nelson, some of the hungriest drivers on the field right behind him. And in fact, here comes Zach Wallace for Sims Motorsport Nissan in the Miku-mobile, the second Miku-mobile, and he's trying to close up to Remy, but it's just not close enough to actually try and send anything down the inside. Revo, by the way, drops way off the back of Falstad. He's 2 seconds off the back of him. I think he might have been told by his team that the guy in front of you and the guy behind you both have time penalties. Maybe don't try and stay in the slipstream of the cars too much and overheat your tires. But at the same time, you do want to be close to them so that you know you will finish in second, Revo. So, I don't know. Maybe hold position and try and keep the gap 3 seconds ahead and just make sure that you can hold on to the position, because Dav Sanchez is behind him as well. And what Dav Sanchez can do is just hold up Revo as well. So it is going to be a big inter-team chess game as Zach Wallace trying to close in on Remy Lebao right in front of him still. I'm not too sure if I'm pronouncing that name correctly either way, because I quit French. So, now as they go down the hill, the DS to Cheetah number 7, and we're on to the penultimate lap of the Prix. Sebastian Ocampo still leading the field from Oscar Falstad and Revo, but Revo, he's fighting the game to try and keep himself within the 5-second time penalty area of Oscar Falstad. To bring you a real-life comparison, think Austria 2022 between Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton. That gave us a very good finish, and we're hoping to see a really strong finish for the second ever double champion in the Formula E Monoposto Championship. We've got 3 of those now, and the fact that neither are UK-able is really interesting to think about, because in recent seasons, UK-able has had some of the strongest second halves that any driver could have had. Of course, didn't quite work out last season, but still, I think it's the fact that he's also managing Honda at the same time, because Akari has only just recently become more involved with the management of Aurelio Pinnacle, and has the rain stopped? Oh my goodness! Onto the final lap we go, and the rain is cleared. There's no rain there. They're all on inters. Oh my goodness! This is insane. I have never seen this happen before. I've never seen drivers wet tires on a dry track. Zay Lane is going to be the only one who will be able to go on to dry compound tires. He might try and set a new fastest lap or something like that, I don't know. But it's his 4th stop of the race. But for Sebastian Ocampo, those worries probably not too close to him. For Revo, as it would stand, he would have to settle for 3rd position at the end of the day. He might want to try and get a move on, because he needs to be within that 5-second gap to Falstad to finish 2nd. But for this man, he's got no worries. Even if he were to get a 5-second time penalty at this point in time, he's 7 seconds ahead of Oscar Falstad, the reigning World Drivers' Champion, in the number 76 for Andretti DS Racing, coming through the Casio triangle, trying to keep it on the track, because it's not the easiest thing to do. Sebastian Ocampo will come home and win the Tokyo E-Prix from Oscar Falstad. And if he can keep it on the road, Revo should finish in 3rd. Then it's Dav Sanchez, Santino Milan, and Daniel Bogdasar of the top 6. Zach Wallace just about got ahead. Oh no, Wallace out! Zach Wallace out of the E-Prix! And for the 2nd weekend running, we've got chaos at the end of a race. Babinis Jr. and Marcus Nelson getting by Remy Lebao, who had a brilliant race today, and unfortunately sees the fruits of his labour undone, as he will only be rewarded with 8th place, considering Nelson's 5-second time penalty. And Tommy will come across the line 10th and the last of the point scorers. Oh, look at the amount of trouble that these drivers are having coming through the Casio Triangle. It's really unthinkable to see drivers on the wrong compound. Cable also out as the Red Devil and Akari Lopez both hitting him. Virtual safety car to end this race. Well, technically, was Leo classified? I don't think he was. But this is the podium then. Sebastian Ocampo takes home his second win in 3 races. Revo takes home his third win and his second place rather, in 3 races. He is becoming the resident bridesmaid of the championship, and he's only able to finish second due to Falstad's 5-second time penalty. Then, it's Santino Milan, Dav Sanchez, Daniel Baltasarov, Inet Babinas Jr., Remy Lebao, Marcus Nelson, and Tommy, your point scorers. Your non-point scorers were Pierre Gasly, Anot Kiwi, Mohamed Nawawi, the Red Devil, and Akari Lopez, with Leo being more than a minute off the race lead and Zay Lane a lap down. Your non-finishers were Zach Wallace, Cable, Tenali Gabo, Bastian Tan, and Pablo Sierra. In the driver's standings, Oscar Falstad leads the way from Revo and Sebastian Ocampo. Then it's Babinas Jr., Marcus Nelson, Daniel Bogdasarov, Remy Lebao, Santino Milan, Dav Sanchez, Leo, Tommy, the Red Devil, Bastian Tan, Pierre Gasly, Cable, Pablo Sierra, Anot Kiwi, Zach Wallace, there's Tenali Gabo, Akari Lopez, Mohamed Nawawi, and Zay Lane, with everyone behind Bastian Tan still yet to score any points. So in the constructor standings, heading into race 3 in Marina Bay, oh god, DS Tachita lead the way from DS McLaren TGR and DS Andretti. Then it's DS Venturi Formula E Team, the top 4 all powered by DS powertrains. Then it's Renault Edams, Kiro Renault, Nissan Nismo, Aurelio Pinnacle, Braun Honda GP, Sims Motorsport Nissan, and Mercedes TQ. We'll see you guys next time then when the Formula E Monoposto Championship returns. Also watch FG series on Cable's channel. Okay, bye.